She was topless by the pool when the Rockstar walked in. His words, "Get dressed or I can't be responsible for myself." That's how Mia met Asher Knight, the most dangerous man she could possibly fall for. And she had exactly 10 days to resist him. Spoiler alert, she failed. But before we help you hit 500 subscribers, let us know in the comments where you're listening from. The Los Angeles sun beat down mercilessly on the infinity pool that stretched along the edge of the Hollywood Hills mansion. Mia Lawson adjusted her sunglasses and let out a contented sigh, feeling the warmth seep into her skin. The view was insane. The kind of panorama that reminded you why people paid ridiculous money to live up here. Downtown LA sprawled in the distance, a hazy collection of glass towers shimmering in the heat. She'd been working as an event coordinator for 3 years, but landing the account for Midnight Chaos's album release party felt like hitting the jackpot. The rock band had exploded onto the scene 2 years ago, and their lead singer, Asher Knight, had become the kind of celebrity who made headlines just by existing. Tabloids loved him. Women loved him. Even men grudgingly admitted he had something special. Mia had arrived at the mansion early to finalize details with the party planner, but the meeting had been pushed back 2 hours. The assistant, a frazzled guy named Marcus, had apologized profusely and told her to make herself comfortable. When she'd seen the pool, the decision had been easy. Her laptop and notes sat on a nearby lounge chair, safely under an umbrella, while she soaked up some vitamin D. The truth was, she needed this moment. The past few weeks had been chaos, juggling multiple events, dealing with demanding clients, and barely sleeping. Her best friend Sarah had told her she looked exhausted. Maybe Sarah was right, but this party could make her career. If she pulled it off perfectly, the doors would swing wide open. Mia reached for her phone and scrolled through her checklist. Caterers confirmed. DJ confirmed. Security team briefed. Lighting crew scheduled for tomorrow. Everything was falling into place. She set the phone down and closed her eyes, letting the sun warm her face. That's when she heard it. A door sliding open. Heavy footsteps on the stone deck. Well, this is unexpected. The voice was deep, rough around the edges, with that distinctive rasp she'd heard 1,000 times on the radio. Mia's eyes snapped open, and she turned her head. Asher Knight stood about 10 feet away, wearing nothing but low-slung black jeans and an old Metallica t-shirt that looked like it had survived a war. His dark hair was messy, like he'd just rolled out of bed, and tattoos covered both arms in intricate sleeves that disappeared under his shirt. He was tall, probably 6'2", with the kind of defined physique that suggested he actually worked out instead of just relying on good genetics. His jawline could cut glass, and those eyes, pale green and intense, were locked directly on her. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was that Mia had decided, in a moment of pure spontaneity, to take off her bikini top. She'd been completely alone. The property was private, and she'd wanted an even tan. It had seemed perfectly reasonable 5 minutes ago. Now, as Asher Knight stared at her with an expression that was equal parts surprised and appreciative, it seemed like the worst decision of her life. Oh my God. Mia grabbed for her bikini top, which sat on the lounge chair next to her laptop. Her face burned hotter than the sun ever could. I am so sorry. I thought I was alone. Marcus said you wouldn't be back until this afternoon. Asher's mouth curved into a slow smile, the kind that probably made hearts stop on a regular basis. Marcus doesn't always know where I am. I'm spontaneous like that. Clearly. Mia fumbled with the bikini strings, her fingers suddenly clumsy. Why were there so many ties? Who designed these things? Need help with that? The amusement in his voice was unmistakable. Absolutely not. She finally got the top secured and stood up, wrapping a towel around herself for good measure. I'm Mia Lawson. I'm coordinating your album release party. I was early for a meeting, and Marcus suggested I wait here. I didn't realize here meant trespassing in your personal pool area. You're not trespassing. Asher walked closer. and Mia caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something earthier. Cigarettes, maybe. Marcus was right to tell you to wait. Though he probably should have mentioned I have a habit of showing up when people least expect it. He was standing close now, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Up close, he was even more striking. There was a small scar above his left eyebrow, and another along his jawline. Stories, she thought. This man had stories written all over him. So you're the coordinator everyone's been raving about, Asher said, his gaze traveling over her face. They told me you were good. Nobody mentioned you were beautiful. Mia felt her cheeks flush again. That's very flattering. But maybe we should focus on the party. I have a lot of details to go over with you. Do you always take your top off during business meetings? The corner of his mouth twitched. Because that's definitely not standard practice in my experience. You know what? I'm going to pretend the last 5 minutes never happened. Mia grabbed her laptop and notes, holding them against her chest like a shield. Can we start over, professionally? Asher laughed. A genuine sound that transformed his face from dangerously handsome to something even more appealing. Sure, let's start over. He extended his hand. I'm Asher Knight. I sing in a band, I live in this overpriced house, and I apparently have terrible timing. She shook his hand, noting the calluses on his fingers. Guitar player hands. Mia Lawson. I coordinate events. I'm rarely this unprofessional, and I really need this meeting to go well. Why? He didn't let go of her hand immediately. You worried I'm going to fire you because you were sunbathing topless in my pool. The thought crossed my mind. Relax. He finally released her hand and gestured toward the outdoor seating area near the pool house. I'm not that much of an asshole. Besides, you've got good taste in pools. This is the best spot in the house. He paused. Though I should probably warn you. Warn me about what? His eyes, those unsettling green eyes, held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. If you keep looking like that, I can't be responsible for myself. Mia blinked. Looking like what? I'm wrapped in a towel. Exactly. Asher's smile was pure trouble. You're wrapped in a towel, your hair's all sun-kissed and wild, and you've got that post-sunbathing glow. It's very distracting. I'm trying to be professional here, and you're not making it easy. She didn't know whether to be offended or flattered. I think you're the one making this unprofessional, Mr. Knight. Call me Asher, and you're probably right. He ran a hand through his messy hair. I have a reputation for being inappropriate. Fair warning. I've read the tabloids, Mia said dryly. Trust me, I'm aware of your reputation. Don't believe everything you read. There was something darker in his voice now, a hint of bitterness. They like to make me into a cartoon character. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? Never mind that I've been sober for 2 years, or that half those stories are complete fiction. Mia studied him, seeing past the Rockstar facade for the first time. There was something genuine in that admission, something vulnerable. I don't base my opinions on tabloids. I prefer to judge people by their actions. Then you definitely saw me at my worst about 10 minutes ago. Asher grabbed a t-shirt from a nearby chair and pulled it over his head, covering some of those distracting tattoos. I should have walked away the second I saw you, but I'm not known for making smart decisions. You're not exactly selling yourself as a client right now. Who says I want to sell myself? He grinned. Maybe I want to see if you're as good as everyone claims. Maybe I want to know if you can handle working with someone like me. Mia lifted her chin. I can handle anything you throw at me, Asher. I've worked with celebrities, politicians, and tech billionaires. Rock stars don't scare me. They should. He moved closer again, and this time there was something predatory in the movement. Not threatening, but definitely dangerous. Especially ones like me. And what kind are you? The kind who knows what he wants. His voice dropped lower. The kind who goes after it no matter what. The air between them felt charged, electric. Mia knew she should step back, put some distance between them, maintain her professional boundaries. But something kept her rooted in place, caught in those green eyes that seemed to see right through her careful defenses. "Well," she said, proud that her voice stayed steady, "right now what you should want is a successful party. And for that, you need me focused and professional. So maybe we should establish some ground rules." "Ground rules?" Asher raised an eyebrow. "I'm not great with rules." "I gathered that. But here's the thing. I need this party to be perfect. It's important for your career, but it's also important for mine. So for the next 2 weeks, we need to work together, which means no flirting, no inappropriate comments, and definitely no references to what happened today." "That's a lot of no's." He considered her for a moment. "What if I can't help myself?" "Then you'll have to try harder." Mia gathered her courage. "Look, I'm sure you're used to women falling all over themselves around you, but I'm here to do a job, not to become another tabloid headline. Can you respect that?" Something shifted in Asher's expression. The playfulness faded, replaced by something more serious. "Yeah, I can respect that." He extended his hand again. "Professional relationship. Got it." She shook his hand, ignoring the way her pulse jumped at the contact. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." A hint of that dangerous smile returned. 2 weeks is a long time, and I'm very persistent when I want something. "Well, you're going to have to want a successful party more than anything else." "We'll see." Asher released her hand and stepped back. "So, Mia Lawson, event coordinator extraordinaire, show me what you've got. Convince me that you're worth all the hype." Mia opened her laptop, grateful to have something to focus on besides the way her heart was racing. She'd handled difficult clients before. She'd managed impossible deadlines and unreasonable demands. She could handle one rock star with a reputation for trouble. What she didn't account for was the way Asher listened when she talked about the party plans. The way he asked intelligent questions and offered creative suggestions. The way he looked at her like she was the most interesting person he'd met in years. And she definitely didn't account for the way she caught herself watching him when she thought he wasn't looking. Noticing the way his hands moved when he talked, the way his smile transformed his entire face, the way those tattoos disappeared under his collar and made her wonder what other artwork he was hiding. By the time their meeting ended 2 hours later, Mia knew 2 things with absolute certainty. First, this party was going to be spectacular. And second, she was in serious trouble. Because despite her rules and her professionalism and her carefully maintained boundaries, Asher Knight was already under her skin, and they still had 2 weeks to go. The next 10 days passed in a blur of activity that left Mia simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated. She'd coordinated dozens of events before, but nothing quite like this. Asher's album release party wasn't just a party. It was an experience, a statement. A carefully orchestrated evening designed to remind everyone why Midnight Chaos was the biggest rock band in the country. But the real challenge wasn't the logistics. It was Asher himself. He'd kept his word about being professional, technically. He showed up to meetings on time, reviewed plans without complaint, and made decisions quickly. But there was an undercurrent to every interaction, a tension that hummed beneath the surface of their carefully maintained boundaries. He'd catch her eye across a room and smile in a way that made her forget what she was saying. He'd lean close to look at her tablet, and she'd lose her train of thought, distracted by his proximity and that cologne that should be illegal. It was driving her crazy. "You're staring at him again," Sarah whispered, appearing at Mia's elbow with a champagne flute in each hand. They were at the venue, a converted warehouse in downtown LA that the band had transformed into something that looked like a cross between a rock club and an art gallery. The party was tomorrow night, and Mia was doing a final walkthrough to ensure everything was perfect. "I'm not staring," Mia lied, accepting one of the champagne flutes. "I'm observing." making sure he's happy with the setup. Uh-huh, Sarah grinned. And the fact that he looks like a god in those jeans has nothing to do with it? Mia glanced across the room, where Asher stood with his bandmates, gesturing animatedly as he discussed something about the stage setup. He was wearing ripped black jeans and a vintage Rolling Stones t-shirt, his tattoo sleeves on full display. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd just showered, and she absolutely did not notice the way his shirt pulled across his shoulders when he moved. "He's my client," Mia said firmly. "That's all. Babe, he looks at you like you're the only person in the room, and you look at him like he's chocolate cake after a month-long diet. Just admit there's chemistry." "There's no chemistry. There's mutual respect and a professional working relationship," Sarah snorted. "Keep telling yourself that. But I've known you for 10 years, and I've never seen you like this. Not even with David, and you dated him for 2 years. David." The memory stung, even though it had been 6 months since they'd broken up. He'd been safe, predictable, everything she thought she wanted, right up until she'd discovered he'd been cheating on her for the last 8 months of their relationship. The betrayal had been devastating, not because she'd been madly in love, but because she'd wasted so much time on someone who hadn't valued her. "This is different," Mia said. "Asher is complicated. He's in the public eye, he's got a reputation, and he's not exactly boyfriend material." "Who said anything about boyfriend?" Sarah waggled her eyebrows. "Maybe he's rebound material. You know, wild fling, unforgettable night, something to get David completely out of your system." "I'm not having a fling with a client." "Why not? The party's tomorrow. After that, he's not your client anymore. He's just a ridiculously hot rock star who clearly wants to get you naked." "Sarah." "What?" "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. The sexual tension between you two could power the whole venue. It's exhausting to watch." Before Mia could respond, Asher broke away from his bandmates and headed in their direction. Sarah made a quick excuse about checking on something with the caterers and disappeared, leaving Mia alone to face him. "Coordinator Lawson," Asher said with that half-smile that made her stomach flip. "Everything looks incredible. You've outdone yourself." "It's not done yet," Mia replied, pulling up her tablet to review the checklist. "We still need to confirm the lighting cues, verify the guest list one more time, and make sure the VIP area is set up correctly. Plus, there's the sound check tomorrow afternoon, the final catering walkthrough, and about 17 other things that could go wrong." "You're stressed." It wasn't a question. "I'm focused. There's a difference." Asher reached out and gently took the tablet from her hands, setting it aside. "Take a break. 5 minutes. The world won't end." 5 minutes is when things fall apart," Mia protested, but she didn't reach for the tablet. The truth was, she was exhausted. She'd been running on coffee and adrenaline for days, barely sleeping, constantly checking and rechecking every detail. "Walk with me," Asher said, and it wasn't really a question. He started walking toward the back of the venue, and after a moment's hesitation, Mia followed. They ended up on a small balcony that overlooked the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Traffic sounds drifted up from below, the constant hum of LA going about its business. "This is my favorite time of day," Asher said quietly. "Right before night falls. Everything feels possible, you know. Like the day's mistakes are forgiven and you get to start fresh." Mia studied his profile, seeing something vulnerable in his expression. "Do you have a lot of mistakes to forgive?" "More than most." He pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, then seemed to remember something and put them away. "I quit 6 months ago, but sometimes I still reach for them out of habit." "That's good." "That you quit, I mean." "Yeah, well, I'm trying to be a better version of myself. It's a work in progress." He turned to look at her, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. "You make me want to try harder." "Asher." "I know. Professional boundaries, ground rules, I remember. He leaned against the railing, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. But tomorrow night, after the party's over and you're no longer my coordinator, those rules don't apply anymore. What makes you think I'd want them not to apply? Because you look at me the same way I look at you. His voice was low, intimate, like you're fighting something you're not sure you want to win against. Mia's heart was racing. She should step back, maintain distance, stick to her rules. But she didn't. Instead, she met his eyes and asked, "What are you fighting?" "The urge to kiss you. Right here, right now, consequences be damned." His hand came up, fingers barely grazing her cheek. "I've been fighting it since the moment I saw you by the pool. But it's getting harder." "We can't," Mia whispered, even as she leaned into his touch. "I need this party to be perfect. I need to stay focused." "I know." His thumb traced her lower lip, a feather-light touch that sent electricity through her entire body. "That's the only reason I'm still standing here talking instead of doing what I really want to do." "And what's that?" "Find out if you taste as good as I imagine. Discover what sounds you make when someone touches you the right way. Prove to you that not all rock stars are bad news." His eyes searched hers. "But I'll wait, because you're worth waiting for." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Mia knew she should say something professional, something that would re-establish their boundaries. But all she could think about was how it would feel to close the distance between them, to finally give in to the attraction that had been building for 10 days. "The party," she managed to say. "Let's get through the party. And then we'll see." Asher's smile was pure satisfaction. "That's all I needed to hear." He stepped back, breaking the spell. "Come on. Let's go make sure everything's perfect for tomorrow night, because the sooner this party happens, the sooner I can take you to dinner." "Pretty confident, aren't you?" "About the party? Yeah, you've done an amazing job. About dinner?" He winked. "Let's just say I'm hopeful." They walked back inside together, and Mia tried to focus on her checklist, on the million details that still needed her attention. But her mind kept wandering back to that moment on the balcony, to the promise in Asher's eyes, to the way her body had responded to his touch. Sarah was right. The chemistry between them was undeniable, and after tomorrow night, there would be no more professional excuses to hide behind. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it made her feel more alive than she had in months. The rest of the evening passed in a productive blur. By the time Mia finally headed home around midnight, she was satisfied that everything was in place. The party would be perfect. It had to be. Not just for her career, but because she'd promised Asher. Her phone buzzed as she pulled into her apartment parking lot, a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for everything you've done. Tomorrow's going to be incredible. Get some sleep. You've earned it. A." Mia saved the number under trouble and smiled despite herself. Tomorrow was going to change everything. She could feel it. The party would be the culmination of 10 days of hard work, but it would also be the end of the rules she'd set up to protect herself. And honestly, she wasn't sure she wanted that protection anymore. Asher Knight was dangerous, complicated, and everything she'd sworn to avoid after David. But he was also genuine, talented, and he looked at her like she was something precious, like she mattered. Maybe it was time to take a risk. Maybe it was time to stop playing it safe. Tomorrow night couldn't come soon enough. She fell asleep with her phone clutched in her hand, that text message still glowing on the screen, and dreamed of green eyes and dangerous smiles, and the feeling of possibility that comes with standing on the edge of something new. When her alarm went off at 6 a.m., Mia woke up with butterflies in her stomach and a determination in her heart. Today was the day. The party would be flawless. And after that, she'd finally let herself explore whatever this thing was between her and Asher. No more rules. No more boundaries. Just two people, finally being honest about what they wanted. The thought should have scared her. Instead, it felt like freedom. The party was a masterpiece. From the moment the first guests arrived at 7 p.m., Mia knew they'd created something special. The warehouse had been transformed into a rock and roll wonderland, all exposed brick and strategic lighting that cast everything in a warm, edgy glow. The stage dominated one end of the space, instruments already set up for Midnight Chaos's surprise performance. The bars were strategically placed, the food stations were elegant without being pretentious, and the VIP area struck the perfect balance between exclusive and accessible. Mia moved through the crowd with her headset on, coordinating with her team, troubleshooting the tiny issues that always arose at events like this. A broken champagne glass here, a guest who needed directions there, nothing she couldn't handle. But even as she worked, she was hyper-aware of Asher's presence in the room. He was in his element, moving from group to group, laughing with industry executives and taking selfies with fans. He wore all black jeans and a black Ramones t-shirt under a leather jacket that probably cost more than Mia's car. His hair was artfully messy, and those tattoos drew eyes wherever he went. He looked every inch the rock star, confident and charismatic and completely at ease. But every so often, he'd find her in the crowd. Their eyes would meet across the room, and he'd smile in a way that was just for her. A private acknowledgement of what was waiting after all this was over. "Mia, we need you at the stage," came Sarah's voice through the headset. "Sound check issue." Mia made her way through the crowd, deflecting compliments about the party with professional grace. When she reached the stage, the band's sound engineer looked stressed. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Feedback loop in the monitor system," he explained. "We can fix it, but we need about 15 minutes. The performance is supposed to start in 10. Mia's mind raced through options. Can we do an introduction speech first? Buy some time? Who's introducing them? Good question. They hadn't planned for a formal introduction. Asher was just supposed to take the stage when the moment felt right. But if they needed 15 minutes... "I'll do it," Mia said, before she could talk herself out of it. "I'll keep it short. Thank people for coming. Build some anticipation. That'll give you the time you need." The engineer looked relieved. "You're a lifesaver." Mia found Asher near the bar, deep in conversation with someone from Rolling Stone. She touched his elbow lightly. "Can I borrow you for a second?" He excused himself and followed her to a quiet corner. "What's up?" "Technical issue with the sound system. We need about 15 minutes. I'm going to do a quick introduction speech to buy time. Just wanted to give you a heads up." Something shifted in his expression. "You don't have to do that. I can handle the crowd." "I know you can, but this is technically still my job, making sure everything runs smoothly." She smiled. "Besides, I give a pretty good speech." "I have no doubt." His hand found hers, squeezed briefly. "Thank you. For everything. This night, this party. It's more than I imagined." "It's not over yet." "No," he agreed, his voice dropping lower. "It's not." 10 minutes later, Mia stood on the stage with a microphone in hand, looking out at a crowd of about 300 people. Her heart hammered in her chest, but she'd done public speaking before. She could do this. "Good evening, everyone," she began, and the crowd quieted. "For those who don't know me, I'm Mia Lawson, and I had the incredible privilege of coordinating tonight's event. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for being here to celebrate Midnight Chaos and their phenomenal new album." Applause rippled through the crowd. Mia caught Asher's eye near the side of the stage. He was watching her with an intensity that made her pulse race. "This band has done something special," she continued. "They've taken rock music and made it relevant again, made it dangerous again, made it matter. And tonight is about celebrating that. But more than that, it's about celebrating the risks we take, the boundaries we push, The moments when we step outside our comfort zones and discover something amazing. She wasn't sure if she was talking about the band anymore or about herself. About the risk she was about to take when this party ended. So let's give it up for Midnight Chaos, for taking risks, for making incredible music, and for reminding us all what passion looks like. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Mia handed the microphone to Asher as he stepped onto the stage. For a moment, they stood close enough that only she could hear when he whispered, "That was incredible. You're incredible." Then he turned to the crowd, transformed into the performer, the rock star, the man who commanded stages and captured hearts. The band launched into their opening song, and the energy in the room exploded. Mia watched from the side of the stage, her job temporarily forgotten. She'd seen concert footage of Midnight Chaos before, but nothing prepared her for the reality of Asher performing live. He was magnetic, his voice rough and powerful, his movements fluid and confident. He owned that stage, owned the room, owned everyone's attention completely. But halfway through the third song, a ballad about lost chances and redemption, he looked directly at her. And suddenly the lyrics felt personal, like he was singing to her, for her, about her. The vulnerability in his voice, the raw emotion, it stripped away every defense she had left. This was why people fell for rock stars, she thought. This intensity, this passion, this ability to make you feel like you were the only person in the world. The performance lasted 45 minutes, and by the end, the crowd was electric. People would be talking about this party for months. Mia's phone was already buzzing with messages from industry contacts, compliments about the event, requests for her services. She should have been thrilled. This was the validation she'd been working toward for years. But all she could think about was Asher, now surrounded by well-wishers and admirers, and the conversation they still needed to have. The next 2 hours were a blur of activity. Mia coordinated the food service, ensured the bar stayed stocked, managed the guest flow. It was nearly midnight when she finally found a quiet moment, stepping outside into the cool LA night to catch her breath. The door opened behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know it was Asher. She'd become attuned to his presence, could sense him before she saw him. "Hiding from your own success?" he asked, coming to stand beside her. Taking a breather. It's been a long night. The best night. He leaned against the wall, studying her profile. "You pulled it off, Mia. That party in there, that's going to be legendary. Everyone's talking about it. That's good. That's what we wanted. So why don't you look happy?" Mia finally turned to face him. "Because the party's almost over, and that means we need to talk about what happens next." "I thought we already decided that. Dinner, getting to know each other without professional boundaries. Is that what you really want?" The question came out more vulnerable than she'd intended. Or am I just another conquest? The event coordinator you charmed while planning your party? Asher's expression turned serious. He moved closer, his hands coming up to frame her face. "You think this is a game to me? That I flirt with every woman I meet and forget them the next day? I think you're Asher Knight, rock star, tabloid fixture, guy who could have anyone he wants." "You're right. I could probably find someone for tonight, for this week, for however long I wanted the distraction." His thumb stroked her cheekbones gently. "But that's not what I want. That's not what you are." "Then what am I?" "You're the woman who called me out on my bullshit the first day we met, who set boundaries and made me respect them, who worked her ass off to make this party perfect, not for recognition, but because you take pride in your work. You're smart, talented, beautiful, and you don't take any crap from anyone. And I've been thinking about you constantly for 10 days straight, which is about 9 days longer than I usually think about anyone." Mia felt her heart hammering. "That's a pretty speech. It's the truth." He leaned his forehead against hers. "I'm not good at this, Mia. Relationships, emotions, all this serious stuff. I'm better with music, with performing, with keeping things surface level. But you make me want to try. You make me want to be better. You don't need to be better. You just need to be honest. Then honestly, I want you. Not just for tonight, not just for some casual thing. I want to take you to dinner, learn everything about you, hear about your dreams and your fears and what makes you laugh. I want to see if this thing between us is as real as it feels. And yeah, I want to kiss you until neither of us can think straight, but that's just part of it. What if it doesn't work? Mia whispered. What if we're too different? What if it does work? What if we're exactly what each other needs? His voice was rough with emotion. I can't promise perfect. My life is complicated. I travel constantly, and there will be headlines and rumors and all kinds of chaos. But I can promise real. I can promise honest. And I can promise that when I'm with you, everything else fades away. Mia looked into those green eyes and saw the truth there. Saw the vulnerability he was showing her, the risk he was taking by being this honest. And she realized that Sarah had been right. Some things were worth the risk. I broke up with someone 6 months ago, she said quietly. He cheated on me, lied to me, made me feel like I couldn't trust my own judgment. I swore I wouldn't get involved with anyone complicated again. And I'm about as complicated as they come. Yeah, she smiled slightly. But you're also honest in a way he never was. You told me from the start who you were, what your reputation was, what I was getting into. That's worth something. Is it worth taking a chance? Mia took a deep breath, let it out slowly. This was it. The moment where she either played it safe or took the leap. The old Mia, the careful one, would walk away, would thank him for a successful party, and move on to the next client, the next safe choice. But she wasn't that Mia anymore. That Mia had been broken by someone who didn't deserve her. This Mia was stronger, wiser, ready to take risks again. Yes, she said simply, it's worth taking a chance. Asher's smile was brilliant, transforming his whole face. Yeah? Yeah, but I have conditions. Of course you do. He was grinning now. What are they? Honesty, always, even when it's hard, even when the truth isn't pretty. Done. And patience. I'm going to be cautious at first. You're going to have to earn my trust. I can do that. And if this doesn't work, if we try and it falls apart, we do it like adults. No drama, no tabloid headlines, no burning bridges. Agreed. His hands were still cradling her face, gentle and sure. Anything else? Yeah. Mia rose on her tiptoes, closing the distance between them. Kiss me, because I've been thinking about this for 10 days, and I'm done waiting. Asher didn't need to be told twice. His lips met hers with a hunger that had been building since that first day by the pool. The kiss was everything she'd imagined, and more. Passionate and tender, and consuming all at once. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, and Mia gripped his jacket to keep herself steady as the world spun around them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Asher rested his forehead against hers again. Worth the wait? Absolutely. Mia laughed breathlessly. Though we should probably get back inside before people notice we're missing. Let them notice. But he stepped back, keeping hold of her hand. Though you're right. You should enjoy your success. Everyone in there wants to talk to you. They went back inside together, hands linked, and if anyone noticed, they were smart enough not to comment. Mia made the rounds, accepted congratulations, exchanged business cards, and felt the satisfaction of a job well done. But through it all, she was aware of Asher across the room, of the way he kept looking at her, of the promise of what came next. The party wound down around 2 a.m. The last guests filtered out, the cleanup crew got to work, and Mia finally powered down her tablet with a sense of completion. She'd done it. The party was flawless. Asher found her near the entrance, his leather jacket over one arm. "Can I give you a ride home?" "I drove here." "Then can I follow you? Make sure you get there safely?" Mia smiled. "You can come in for coffee, if you want." "I want." He laced his fingers through hers. "I really, really want." They walked out into the cool LA night together, and Mia felt something shift inside her. This was the beginning of something new, something uncertain and exciting, and possibly wonderful. It might crash and burn. It might be the best decision she ever made. But either way, it was real. And for the first time in 6 months, Mia felt like herself again. Not the careful, cautious version she'd become after David. The real Mia, the one who took chances and believed in possibilities and wasn't afraid to reach for what she wanted. Asher Knight was complicated, dangerous, everything she'd sworn to avoid. But he was also honest, talented, and he looked at her like she hung the moon. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth taking a risk for. As they drove through the empty LA streets, Mia's phone buzzed with another message from Sarah. "Saw you two leave together. Call me tomorrow with all the details. And congratulations on the party. You're amazing." Mia smiled and pocketed her phone. Tomorrow she'd deal with questions and explanations, and figuring out how to navigate a relationship with someone in the public eye. Tonight, she just wanted to enjoy this feeling, this moment. This man who'd somehow managed to break through all her carefully constructed walls. They reached her apartment building, and Asher parked his motorcycle next to her car. She hadn't even realized he'd ridden a bike. Of course he had. He was that guy, leather jacket and motorcycle and tattoos in trouble. And she was the woman who was going to take a chance on him anyway. "So," Asher said as they stood in her doorway, his eyes dark with promise. "About that coffee." Mia pulled him inside and closed the door, sealing them away from the world, from expectations, from everything but this moment and the infinite possibilities it held. "Forget the coffee," she said, and kissed him again. This time, there were no boundaries, no rules, no professional excuses. Just two people finally being honest about what they wanted. And what they wanted was each other. The party had been a success. But this, Mia thought, as Asher backed her against the wall with a kiss that made her toes curl, this was the real victory. Finding the courage to take a risk. Finding someone who made her feel alive again. Finding herself in the process. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight was theirs. And that was more than enough. So there you have it. Mia took the risk, stepped outside her carefully constructed boundaries, and let herself fall for someone who was everything she thought she should avoid. And honestly, isn't that what life's really about? Those moments when you stop playing it safe and reach for something that scares you? Think about it. If you were in Mia's position, would you have set those boundaries from the beginning, or would you have given in to the attraction right away? Do you think she was smart to protect herself, or did those rules just delay the inevitable? And what about Asher? Was he genuine from the start, or did Mia change him? Could you trust someone with his reputation? Or would the tabloids and the lifestyle be too much to handle? Here's the real question, though. Do you believe in taking risks for love, even when everything logical tells you to walk away? Have you ever met someone who was completely wrong for you on paper but felt absolutely right in person? Because sometimes the best relationships are the ones that don't make sense to anyone but the two people in them. Mia and Asher's story is just beginning. They've got chemistry, passion, and genuine connection. But they also have reality waiting for them. Headlines, touring schedules, the pressure of public scrutiny, and all the complications that come with dating someone famous. Will they make it? Will the intensity they feel right now survive the real world? That's the beautiful uncertainty of new love. What do you think happens next for them? Does Asher stay faithful when he's on tour? Does Mia's career skyrocket after this party, maybe creating jealousy or distance? Do they figure out how to balance his public life with her need for privacy? Or do they crash and burn spectacularly in 6 months? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and tell me. Are you Team Asher and Mia? Or do you think she should have stuck to her rules? Have you ever broken your own rules for someone who seemed worth the risk? Did it work out, or did you end up regretting it? And hey, if you enjoyed this story, if it made you feel something, if you found yourself rooting for these two crazy kids to figure it out, do me a favor. Help us reach 500 subscribers. We're building a community of people who love real stories about real emotions, about taking chances and finding connection in unexpected places. Hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Are you team risk taker like Mia, or team play it safe? Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure out when to guard our hearts and when to let someone in. And sometimes the scariest thing and the best thing are exactly the same choice. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And remember, the best stories are the ones we're brave enough to live ourselves.